2 hours ago, I watched my mother announce the sale of a property she didn't own to a crowd that already knew the truth. She stood on a wooden porch with a realtor at her side, smiling like the deal was already done. My father nodded. My sister cried on cue. And for exactly 3 minutes and 41 seconds, they believed they were about to divide something that had never belonged to them. I didn't interrupt. I didn't correct them. I didn't even move. Because sometimes the strongest foundation is the one you allow other people to build their lives on before gravity does the rest. 9 years earlier, they canceled my 25th birthday because of my sister's latest emergency. That decision cost me a dinner reservation. 9 years later, it cost them everything else. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Welcome back to Reality Drama Story, where family secrets unfold and quiet decisions change everything. If you are new here, drop a comment and subscribe. Now let's get into it. My name is Natalie Carter. I'm 34 years old now. I own a successful event venue on 147 acres outside town. People assume I inherited it. That would be a simpler story. The truth started with my grandfather. His name was Walter. If every family is a building, my grandfather was the load-bearing wall. Not loud, not dramatic, just dependable. When I was 8 years old, he taught me how to build birdhouses in his workshop. He used to place a ruler beside every piece of wood and say the same thing. Measure twice. Cut once. At the time, I thought he was teaching carpentry. Years later, I realized he was teaching life. My mother never understood that lesson. Her world revolved around my younger sister, Emily. Emily wasn't evil. That would have been easier. She simply learned very early that attention followed crisis. A bad day became a disaster. A disagreement became trauma. A minor inconvenience became an emergency requiring everyone else's resources. And my parents responded every single time. My father rarely disagreed. His survival strategy was agreement. Whatever person spoke last usually got what they wanted. My mother spoke last most of the time. I became the reliable one, the mature one, a strong one. Those labels sound like compliments. They aren't. Not when they're used as reasons to neglect you. Every school award, every achievement, every milestone. There was always something happening with Emily. A forgotten appointment, a breakup, a panic attack, a financial problem, a relationship issue. The years passed, and slowly I disappeared from my own family. Not all at once. Brick by brick, like a house being dismantled so gradually nobody notices until the roof caves in. When I turned 25, I planned one thing, one dinner, 8 people, a private room, a reservation made 6 weeks in advance. I paid the $250 deposit myself. I wanted nothing extravagant, just one evening where I wasn't secondary. 3 days before the dinner, Emily sent a message to our family group chat. I don't know what's wrong with me. Something feels really serious. No diagnosis. No doctor. No details. Just fear. Within minutes, my mother was calling relatives. By the next day, Emily had transformed vague anxiety into a full family emergency. Saturday morning arrived. At 11:12 a.m., my phone rang. My mother. I already knew. Natalie, sweetheart, we're going to have to miss your birthday. I stared at the wall. Why? Emily isn't doing well. What happened? A pause. Then another. Nothing specific. Nothing real. Just concern. Manufactured concern. The kind that grows in the absence of facts. Then she said the sentence that changed my life. You're strong enough to understand. 11 words. That was it. 25 years reduced to 11 words. I sat quietly. Then I said okay. Not the okay she thought. A different one. The kind people say right before they leave. Forever. That afternoon, I packed 2 suitcases. By sunset, I was driving 200 miles away. Toward my grandfather. Toward Walter. Toward the only person who had consistently shown up. When I arrived, he was sitting on the porch. Waiting. Like he knew. Maybe he did. I told him everything. The canceled birthday. The years of being overlooked. The fake emergency. The constant sacrifices. He listened. Then he handed me a mug of coffee and said something I'll never forget. People tell you who they are through patterns, not promises. Then he pointed toward an old property across the road. A neglected wedding venue he owned. The place was nearly bankrupt. The roof leaked. Bookings were disappearing. The accounts were a mess. Nobody wanted it, including my mother, especially my mother. She had spent years telling Walter to sell it. She called it a money pit, a burden, a mistake. I saw something different. I saw potential. What nobody knew was that Walter had already created a legal structure years earlier. On March 14, 2018, he established a private trust. The trust contained a very specific clause. Clause 7B. I didn't know it existed then. My mother certainly didn't. The clause stated that if a designated successor personally operated the business continuously for 5 years, ownership would automatically transfer upon certification by the trust attorney. No probate. No inheritance dispute. No family vote. No negotiation. Automatic transfer. The successor? Me. Walter never told anyone. Not even me. The paperwork sat quietly in a lawyer's safe for years. Waiting. I spent the next 9 years rebuilding that venue. 16-hour days. 7 days a week. I painted walls. Fixed plumbing. Negotiated contracts. Managed weddings. Cleaned bathrooms. Handled marketing. Booked clients. Some nights I slept in my office. Year 1. Revenue, $78,000. Year 3. Revenue, $410,000. Year 6. Revenue, $1.2 million. Year 9. Fully booked 18 months in advance. Meanwhile, my family rarely called, except when they needed something. Money, advice, favors, support. Always support. Never interest. Never curiosity. Never love. If this story is hitting close, drop a comment and stay with me because what happens next is something none of them were ready for. 3 months before my 34th birthday, Walter passed away peacefully. The funeral was attended by more than 200 people. That surprised my mother. She genuinely believed her father had failed. The crowd told a different story. After the service, my mother approached me. Natalie, we'll need to discuss the estate. Estate. Not grief. Not memories. Estate. I nodded. She continued. We should meet at the venue next Saturday. I agreed. Then I stayed silent, because by that point I knew about Clause 7B. I knew about the trust. I knew about the transfer. Most importantly, I knew they didn't. Saturday arrived. My mother brought a realtor, my father, my sister, and an accountant. 4 people, 4 assumptions, 4 very expensive mistakes. I counted how many times they referred to the property as family inheritance. 13 times. I counted how many times my mother said, fair share. 9 times. I counted how many times anyone asked what Walter actually wanted. 0. The meeting started at 1 p.m. At 1:23 p.m., my mother stood and announced her proposed division. 1/3 for her. 1/3 for Emily. 1/3 for my father. The venue would be sold. The land liquidated. The assets distributed. Then she smiled at me. Natalie, you'll be compensated for your hard work. Compensated. As though I were an employee. As though 9 years of my life could be converted into a thank you payment. I looked at the clock. 1:24 p.m. Then I nodded toward the attorney sitting quietly in the corner. The same attorney who had managed Walter's trust. He stood, opened a folder, and began reading. March 14, 2018. Clause 7B. 5-year operational requirement. Certification completed. Ownership transferred. Fully executed. Legally binding. Final. The room became silent. Not ordinary silence. The kind that changes oxygen. My mother's face froze. Emily blinked repeatedly. My father stared at the table. The attorney finished. Then sat down. Nobody spoke for 11 seconds. I remember because I counted. Then came phase 1. Anger. This can't be legal. My mother shouted. Then phase 2. Manipulation. Your grandfather wouldn't want this. Then phase 3. Tears. Real. Or at least convincing. I sacrificed everything for this family. That was when Walter's oldest friend spoke up. A man named Robert, 78 years old, retired contractor, known Walter for 5 decades. He leaned forward and said calmly, No, Linda. Natalie sacrificed everything. We all watched it happen. The room went quiet again. Because truth sounds different when witnesses exist. The meeting ended 43 minutes later. Nobody received money. Nobody received land. Nobody received ownership. The venue remained exactly where it belonged. The property was valued at $3.8 million. The business generated over $900,000 annually, and none of it was available for division. 32 days later, my mother hired an attorney. 64 days later, she abandoned the challenge. The trust was airtight. The evidence was overwhelming. The paperwork was perfect. Walter had measured twice, then cut once. A month after everything ended, I found something in my office. An old birthday card. The one Walter mailed me on my 25th birthday. The birthday nobody attended. Inside was a handwritten note. Only 9 words. Build something nobody can take away from you. I framed it. It still hangs behind my desk. Not because of the property. Not because of the money. Because he was right. This is not revenge. This is the final balance sheet of every choice people thought nobody was counting. If this story reminded you to know your worth, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe, drop a comment, and I will see you in the next one.